What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Studio 39, aka the Bear Cave. It's Wednesday night. That means one thing and one thing only. It's the Spotlight 39 live podcast with my guy Zack from Max Preps. You know how we do each and every week, Wednesday nights, 8 p.m. We're joined by special guest student athletes, coaches, influencers within the space. We keep it real, we keep it spicy. As my guy Zack says, we keep it saucy. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, support the brand that supports you. More importantly, help these kids live out their dreams, man, by giving them all the exposure possible. So hit the subscribe button, turn the notifications on, because we do this thing each and every Wednesday night throughout the season. And tonight's no different, man. We got a lot of big games to recap from last week, especially some crazy upsets that we didn't see coming. We went on record last week talking some crazy nonsense, apparently, because we were proven wrong multiple times. So let's get into it. 9/11, I can't get out of here without saying it is never forgotten. I will never, ever forget where I was that day, sitting in class during that tragic moment. So let's take a moment of silence and then we're going to get this party started. I appreciate y'all. This is Spotlight 39 Live. You see my guy Zack on the screen. We're doing big things out here. We were on record last week. We said some things. We did say some things. We're going to get to that. But before we do, we got to thank our sponsors, I Am Power Energy and the Great White Premium Apparel. Make sure you check out their website, greatwhite.shop. And of course, the 39 Hearts Foundation. Every strong athlete needs a strong heart. That is the reason why Spotlight 39 exists. So, all of that out the way, let's have some fun, man. Let's start recapping some crazy, crazy games. I thought last week was crazy. We said, who can stop DeSoto? Who can stop him? I mean, I went as far as I even tweeted, who can stop him? Well, we found out. Did we find out? I
Yeah,
think we did.
hey, you score 57 points in a game, man. You're gonna have a good chance to pull out the dub. Yeah, that was a big time shocker for me. DeSoto is ranked in the top five, and back to back 6A D2 state champs, right in a 23 game winning streak. They won 70-0 against Creekside from Georgia to start the year off. But hey, they're for real, man. North Crowley. Last year the only loss came against Duncanville in the semifinals of the 6A D1 playoffs, and they had a strong rushing attack. They went for 280 yards rushing last week between two running backs, 4 touchdowns, and Quentin Gibson had 7 grabs for $180 and 4 touchdowns. So they would have been a team to load up with fantasy guys last week for sure, scoring all those points, man. I think we might have to give it a run again. You're on mute.
Nope, look, we don't even have to run it back. I unmuted myself. We're going to play along. And
Yeah.
look, high-powered offensive game, right? A lot of scoring on both sides. We said who can stop them. We found out who can stop them. So where does DeSoto go from here? Where does North Crowley go from here? What do you see for the rest of the season? Because I mean, DeSoto's still got a big one coming up that you're going to be a part of. But
Yeah.
what about North Crowley? I mean, they got DeSoto out the way. What else they got?
Yeah, I mean, this week they got Denton Geyer, who's off to a 2-0 start this year. They beat Aledo to start the year, and then last week they beat Arlington Martin. So that's going to be another tough game, and this will be a fun matchup because North Crowley has one of the best offensive lines, and then Denton Geyer's got one of the best defensive lines. So that's going to be a fun matchup to watch. They got Zane Rowe, a 2027 Oklahoma commit, and then Kyron Howard
Good.
also on the D line. So they got some dudes on the D line. That's going to be a fun matchup to watch in the trenches, but I think North Crowley's going to ride that momentum, and they're going to improve to 3-0. They want to win state this year, and they're putting Fort Worth on the map, man. Because when it comes to teams from the Dallas area, DeSoto, Duncanville, Allen used to be a big time program. They're still pretty good, but they're not what they used to be when they had Kyler Murray. And but yeah, North Crowley, big time dub. This is going to be a big game though. We saw the same thing happen with Corner Canyon earlier in the year. They beat IMG, and then they got tripped up the next week against Lone Peak. So it'll be an impressive back-to-back win for North Crowley if they can get through Denton Geyer after that big win at DeSoto.
I love it, man. So TBD, we'll find out next week. I'm sure that'll be we'll get to some recap in there. But let's keep it moving. Let's move into another huge matchup. I was on record. I said my guy Brady Hart was going to throw 5 tutties. Didn't quite happen. I said Coco was going to knock off IMG. Didn't happen. However, it was still a good game. IMG, I think they just had too much for Coco. But what did you see from your point of view?
Yeah, I mean IMG is a team that's just going to get better each week. They shut out Coco in the second half. Javon Boggs was having a big time first half, but yeah, IMG played a complete game, and they got playmakers all over the board. They're going to be a tough team to beat. They're going to have a couple easy games coming up here. Actually, they got Mandarin in a couple weeks. That could be a interesting game too. But the big one coming up for IMG will be against Central Phoenix City out in Alabama. I think that's going to be a pretty, we'll see, interesting matchup though. They're the top ranked team in the state of Alabama. They're ranked in the Max Preps top 25. But yeah, that's 2 good wins in a row for IMG, especially seeing Bergen take down Massillon also last week.
Yeah, you got IMG. They've got Mount Zion Prep out of the DMV in Maryland.
I'm going to go on a limb here and take IMG. So
You're going to go on record saying IMG.
yeah, I'll take IMG this week. So
I I, I want to pull for the DMV home team. Unfortunately, I don't know that Mount Zion Prep has enough gas in the tank, ammo in the chamber, call it what you want. I just don't know that they're going to be able to compete for 4 quarters against IMG. It'll be good for them to get on the same field with some of these higher ranked kids and have an opportunity to get better coming out of the game. But I just don't know that Mount Zion's going to be able to put a dent into IMG and what they've got going on. So we're just going to continue to follow IMG for the rest of the season. Where do you see Coco going from here for the remainder of the season? I mean, obviously they came out strong. They looked good in the first cup. I'd say quarter and a half. They came out really strong. Then it kind of fell apart. So Coco, where do they go from here? I still think they're going to be a powerhouse in the state of Florida, especially within the public sector. But you tell me.
yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, you knew this was going to be a tough game for Coco. IMG on the road, that's a tough place to win at. So I love when teams schedule games like this because it just makes your team better as the season goes. It's kind of it's a test. Like, hey, this is what we need to get better at. Where the first 2 weeks they had dominant wins. You don't learn much from those type of games, but you play a team like IMG loaded with talent, you're going to learn a lot about yourselves. And I think this game is just going to help Coco in the future. I mean, you look at their schedule, they're probably going to be favored in just about every game. They got a game later in the year at Venice, could be a good game. And they also got Miami Norland. Those 2 games we'll see. But I would be surprised if Coco lost more than 2 games this year. And they're going to definitely be in the mix to win another state title, which would be 3 in a row for them.
Yeah, I would say that I think Coco's definitely gonna bounce back pretty strong from this game. They do, like you said, they've got Norland, then they got Venice, so 2 big matchups for what it's worth. But I still think Coco has enough to ride the rest of the season and make that run for that 3rd straight. So TBD there. It's gonna be a lot of fun to watch Brady and company the remainder of the season. But let's stop talking about Florida. Let's talk about 2 states that don't get a lot of love. Let's talk about Boyle County and St. Edward. So we got Ohio and Kentucky.
Yeah,
this was 1v1, right? 1v1, best of the best in their respected states. And then we said we felt as if St. Edwards would come out on top, right? I think that's what we said last week. We thought St. Edwards was going to knock them off. But we got a 38-21. Talk to me.
Yeah, hey, I was telling y'all about Montaven Quisenberry, and all he did in that game, he was by far the best player on the field. He rushed for 3 touchdowns, went for like 150 yards on the ground. He threw a 69-yard touchdown pass on a trick play. There's literally nothing this guy can't do. Oh, and then on top of that, homie had the game-winning interception to seal the game. So, I mean, that was one of the best single game performances I've seen out of any player in a big time game like that. St. Edward was the number 12 team in the country. They went on the road. Boyle County put Kentucky on the map. Boyle County went from being ranked at number 52 in our expanded top 100 all the way up to number 14 in the entire country. So they're putting Kentucky on the map. Also, shout out to North Crowley, too. They were ranked in I think at 48, and they jumped all the way up to 13 with that win against DeSoto. So a couple of big jumps for teams that were not ranked in the top 25, and they both got big road wins. But yeah, Montague and Quisenberry, West Virginia, you better hope that nobody comes in and takes him, because he is a guy that's going to come in and he's going to have a chance to play as a true freshman. He is just a special football player. Some guys were just born to play football. He might not have all the measurements and all of that, but you watch this guy on the football field, he is going to find a way to make plays, whether it's at running back, wide receiver, special teams, or in the secondary. He was all over the field, and he was the best player on the field last Saturday.
Yeah, so that's Bull County out of Kentucky and Ohio.
Yeah.
Two states that don't get a lot of love, that got some airplay last week, and it was so good that we had to recap again this week because it was such a good game, and he had such a
I'll say
game.
this, man. Ohio is definitely one of the top states for sure. But Kentucky, on the other hand, Kentucky definitely doesn't get love. Ohio, man, they definitely are top
Well,
7 range for
you're
sure,
right.
but
You're right.
Kentucky probably not top 10, and I tell you what, man, this is one of the better teams from Kentucky. This team is probably as good as the old Trinity teams that had Rondell Moore. So this is I'm telling you, man, this is a team to watch the rest of the year. They're going to be favored in every game because they're going to pretty much have just in-state opponents the rest of the way.
So look, man, I'm looking forward to it. So we got a guest in the green room. He's itching to get on. But before we go there, let's just close out these recaps. Let's talk about one more game that was a hot topic last week. We had Jersey versus Ohio. So talk to me, man. Bergen Catholic, you said they was going to bounce back. We got the
Yeah.
35-21 win. What you see here?
Hey, I mean, it wasn't a great week for Ohio for sure, but they were playing, tough competition. But Quincy Porter's that dude. Ohio State's had big time receivers come to their program here, especially we see what Jeremiah Smith's doing right now as a true freshman. Quincy Porter is going to be another guy that's going to make an impact early on when he gets to Ohio State. Had another big game. This game was 21-21 in the first half, and then Bergen scored the rest of the points. And big win for Bergen, though, to bounce back after that tough loss against IMG Academy. Najee Calhoun, he's having a good start to the year at running back. Bergen's got some playmakers. They're always tough in the trenches. So, yeah, big win for the state of New Jersey. And, them and DePaul Catholic. DePaul Catholic took down good counsel this week. So
They did.
It was a good week for the state of New Jersey.
Yeah, I've got good counsel coming up. I think in 2 weeks, if I'm not mistaken, when St. Joe's Prep comes to town. So I'll be there, covering that game. But yeah, big win for Bergen Catholic. Ohio went 0-2 in the big ones, right?
Yeah, they both dropped out of the top 25. So, but hey, luckily for them, they still got some good teams left on the schedule, and Massillon plays St. Edwards here coming up shortly. So the winner of that game will have a chance to jump right back in.
We can't get out of here without talking about 1 versus 2. My guy was on the sidelines. He had the bag of popcorn. It was an absolute movie for one team. Didn't necessarily have the ending or the, I guess the sauce as we anticipated, with a 31-15 final. But what did you see from the sidelines, man? You got to see this heavyweight bout of two juggernaut programs. I mean, they're not ranked 1 and 2 for no reason. I mean, Gorman may have lost this one. However, they only slipped, 2-3 spots in the rankings. They didn't slip too far, right?
Yeah, they dropped to number 5. So, and they got Orange Lutheran coming up. So, I mean, they get a bounce back attempt coming up too. But yeah, hey, Jordan Davison, Oregon commit at running back. He had 90 yards, a couple of tutties. Mater Dei is the most complete team in the country. They just don't have a weakness. They're great secondary, linebackers, D-line, offensive line, playmakers at running back, wide receiver, and then Dash Byerly's been doing his thing at quarterback. So this is, we had him preseason number 1 for a reason. We knew coming in this team was loaded at pretty much every position. And this was another impressive showing for Mater Dei. And the craziest stat, since 2017, Modern Day is now 17-0 against out of state competition. And it's just with Modern Day, man. The bigger the game, the better they play. And this was another great showing for the Monarchs. And it's always fun when you get that 1 versus 2 matchup. But yeah, the number one team was definitely the better team last Friday night. And we'll see where it goes from here, because this is probably the best, which is saying something, the Trinity League has ever been. So it's going to be tough to go undefeated in league play, because St. John Bosco moved up to number 2 in the country now. And then you got teams like Orange Lutheran, who just beat St. Francis Academy last week. You got J. Sarah Catholic, who routed Sierra Canyon 35-7. You got Santa Margarita, who had a big win against Corona Centennial. And then you got a tough Servite team. So it's going to be interesting to see how the Trinity League plays out. But yeah, I would be shocked if somebody takes down Modern Day this season. But that's the thing. You get through the Trinity League, and then you got to go play in the CAF Southern Section D1 playoffs, which is the toughest playoff bracket in the country. So a long way to go. But yeah, impressive 2 wins to start the year from Modern Day. And they looked great at the Santa Ana Bowl last week. So yeah, they're going to be a tough team to knock out for sure.
Yeah, and we don't have the a preview for Gorman. Do we have a? Do we have a? I think we do have a preview for Gorman coming up, but
Yeah,
nonetheless,
we'll hit on that game for sure, because Orange Lutheran jumped up to number 12, so that'll be a big time game. That's going to be our Max Preps game of the week this week too. So luckily for me too, man, I'm flying out to Vegas Friday morning, so I'm gonna go check that one out also.
well then let's just talk about it. I wasn't sure if I had the graphic, but I've got the graphic. We've got Orange Lutheran going to Vegas to
Yeah.
play Gorman. So where does Gorman go from here? They didn't have a great showing against Mater Day. They're still within the top 5, but like you said, Orange Lutheran just came off a big win against St. Francis Academy out of Maryland, who they were ranked like 13 and 19 or something along those lines, right? Yep. So they were both top 25 programs. Orange Lutheran, as you predicted, would come out on top. And now they get to face a very hungry and I'm sure very motivated Bishop Gorman in Vegas. Talk to me. What do we got here?
Yeah, Olu, they got TJ Lateef, stud quarterback, Nebraska commit, but their defense is what jumps off the table for me. I mean, they're loaded all 3 levels on defense. They did their thing last week against St. Francis Academy, won 15-13, a low scoring game, but we'll see with Gorman. It's been who's going to be QB1. Melvin Spicer's looked better at times, and then against Modern Day, Micah Eugenio was the better quarterback of the 2. So it's going to be interesting to see how things play out. Obviously Brent Browner is doing a great job as head coach there, and I expect both quarterbacks to play on Friday, and he's going to probably ride the hot hand, what he's done this season so far. But the nice thing for whichever quarterback's going to get more of the playing time, they got a great offensive line. S.J. Alofa-Tuli came back last week. He was back in the starting lineup. So, yeah, I expect Gorman to come out hungry for this one. They want to take out their frustration on another Trinity League opponent. The Trinity League's been great this year, though. They're 16-1. The only loss came against Mission Viejo when they beat Santa Margarita. So they're always ready to play. This should be a fun game. I can't wait for it. This is going to be a fun one to be at for sure, but I expect Gorman to bounce back and find a way to win. I think Derek Meadows is going to have a big showing, and I think the running game is going to get on track against Orange Lutheran. But we'll see. Orange Lutheran's tough. They just played St. Francis. They also beat Sarah of Gardena down in SoCal. So they've played some tough teams already. So this won't be nothing new for the Lancers. But I think the Gales are going to win this one at home. I think it's going to be a close game, and I think Gorman's going to pull away and win by a couple touchdowns late.
All right, so you're on record by a couple of tutties. Gorman over Orange Lutheran. And Orange Lutheran, man, like their slate of games don't really necessarily slow down after this, right?
No, they got Sierra Canyon and then St. John Bosco, and then obviously when they get to Bosco, that's when Trinity League action begins. So yeah, it's a tough schedule all year for Orange Lutheran.
Yeah, man. So let's stay in the Trinity League, right? We talked about the big matchup with Mater Day and Gorman. Let's just talk about Mater Day this week. They're going to be playing a very hungry Kahuku, and hopefully I didn't butcher that. I think I got it right.
You got it.
Let's go. I've been practicing. Let's do it. So we've got modern day. They're playing what in Hawaii?
Yeah, they're making the road trip, man. It's
Yeah.
like
So
a 2,600-mile flight, so
yeah, and if you think about it, we had Coach Negro on a couple of weeks ago, and he talked about their trip out to Hawaii and how if he could kind of go back and do things differently, he probably would. They tend they ended up enjoying Hawaii a little more than what the plan was. So where do you see with modern day? Are they hopefully they don't fall into the same I don't want to say bad habits because you can't have a bad habit having fun on the beach in Hawaii. I mean it's paradise, but what do you got with modern day and Kahuku in beautiful Hawaii?
yeah, that's a tough spot if you're head coach because you want your kids to be able to go out to Hawaii. A lot of them haven't been out there before, and to get to enjoy the experience. But also too, you're out there to play football to win a football game where you have to find that balance. And I think that'll be a good learning test from seeing what happened to St. John Bosco last year. I don't think that's going to happen in modern day. These two teams played last year down in SoCal, and modern day one is like 55-8 or 55-7. So, it was an easy win for the Monarchs. But it's important to not forget what you're out in Hawaii for. I don't expect that to happen in modern day. I expect a rout at Kahuku. The Monarchs are just too good everywhere. I don't expect Chris Henry Jr. to play. He got banged up last week, so luckily for modern day is they have a lot of big time wide receivers, and hopefully Chris Henry Jr. is not out too long. Hopefully it looks like it's going to be a week to week thing where it's not a serious injury. So that's the good news. I mean, he's a great kid. We had him on, and it was fun chopping it up with him, and he had a touchdown in last week's win against Bishop Gorman. And yeah, I think it's going to be a tough Saturday night for the Kahuku Red Raiders. I would expect the Monarchs to I would say the spread would probably be around about 34. So
Oh, okay. So we got modern day comfortably winning against Kahuku in beautiful paradise Hawaii. That's where we got.
yeah, I'm rocking with the Monarchs for sure. I'll probably pick modern day in every game they got on the schedule from here on out. So
Uh-oh. So what happens when we get that one versus two potential Bosco
we'll
modern day
we got
Santa
we
Ana? We'll cross
hey
that bridge
we
when
got
we get
to
there.
tease it. Yeah, we got to tease it, man. We can't start making picks yet, and if both those teams are undefeated, you're going to get another one versus two matchup most likely. So I would say this, Ben. I would say obviously modern day and St. John Bosco. I would say Milton's in the conversation for being the top team in high school football also. But yeah, I mean modern day Bosco. I feel like it's been like this every year since about 2016. So
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun, man. They tend to always somehow sneak into that 1-2 position. It seems like most every season, and then
yeah,
when they go head to head, it's like, you know, it's almost like whoever wins in the regular season, the opposing, like the losing team, tends to win in the championship. That's happened a
yeah.
handful of times over the last couple of years. So, it's going to be interesting to see how the rest of the season unfolds. But for this week, modern day, they've got to get the job done against Kahuku in Hawaii. But let's not stop there. We still got a handful of games. All right, so check it out. As promised, man, we had a special guest in the green room. You seen him last week. I call him the QB guru. He's super humble, man. That is Balin out of Central Florida, but he's training up quarterbacks across the country, man. We got Montana, we got several other states, Central Virginia. My guy Gabe Dombeck trained with him a little bit. So Balin, appreciate you jumping on. He got the Miami Hurricanes hat on. He's excited. But then we got another special guest, man. We got Mr. Dereon Coleman, QB1 out of Jones High School, committed to who? The U. So, how you feeling, good sir?
I'm feeling good.
Man,
Appreciate y'all for having me on.
look, man, we appreciate you taking the time and getting on. This is a big deal, man. We want to have a fun conversation. So let's just get this thing kicked off. Let's just start talking about the season itself. How many games have we played? How is your season going? What are some things that you've taken away already that maybe is working really well for you, or maybe something that you found that maybe you want to work on a little bit more during your training sessions. With Balin, and then we're going to talk about this big matchup with who's it? Edgewater? Is that who we're playing this week?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so we're gonna have a fun conversation. My guy Zack, he's gonna chime in. He wants to know about the U, and obviously, anytime that you want to be super humble and not talk yourself up too much, my guy Balin's going to chime in and spice you up a little bit, man. So just talk to us a little bit about how your season started, and we'll go from there.
I'm having a great season so far. We're 2-0 right now. Way better than I started last year. I got 400 plus passing yards, 5 touchdowns already, just one turnover. That's really what I've been working on the most this year, was turning over the ball. So that's probably the best thing I have been doing this year, despite all the touchdowns and passing yards. We don't really care about that at Jones. We care about keeping the ball in our hands and not turning it over.
Yeah, man. And just I know Zach's going to chime in here in just a second, but from my point of view, I got to see you in person when you came up to the DMV and played Good Counsel in Maryland last year. And I ain't even gonna lie, man. I went on record saying I was surprised that you was QB1 for the better part of that game, because coming in, like, y'all had an Ole Miss quarterback commit, and I was like, man, like, Coleman, like, who is this kid? So then I did some research, and I humbled myself, and then I got very familiar very quick because you put on a show and had a lot of highlights. And I was fortunate enough to capture a handful of those and throw them out on the Twitter space. So I just had to throw that little plug in there. So keep doing what you're doing, man. But Zach, go ahead and take it away, man.
Yeah, hey, you got Edgewater coming up this week. This is one of the best rivalries in Orlando. What's the game plan and what you looking forward to coming up this weekend?
We're looking forward to win. That's really all I can say. I'm not gonna give away our game plan what we got in them because they're watching everything as we do right now. So we just looking forward to win.
Yeah, and I got to ask you too, like, how much getting to be QB1 last year as a sophomore has helped you develop coming into this year as you're having a great start to your junior campaign?
Really just helped me be a leader to the team. Helped me just be more vocal. My game was already on point and everything. It just helped me on the inside as a football player and a quarterback. Helped me build as a quarterback.
And Balin, I got to ask you real quick too, what has impressed you the most with Dereon going in from his sophomore to his junior season that you've noticed being a quarterback's coach?
Yeah, I mean, I just noticed the maturity level, and like you mentioned earlier, the turning the ball over. He doesn't do that anymore. And honestly, the only interception he had was a Hail Mary before halftime on Saturday just to make a play. But he's taking care of the football. He's playing at a high elite level. His last game, he just played against rival Evans last week. He went 25 for 28, 287 yards and a touchdown and a rushing touchdown in their rivalry win. So in the game before that, he was almost near perfect with 4 touchdowns. And then the game before that against Seminole, he threw another 4 touchdowns. So he's playing at an elite level with 0 turnovers, and that's what's really impressive about his game is now he's understanding concepts and going through his progressions, understanding his blocking scheme and how he calls protections, and then just getting the ball to the athletes and let them do their job. And I've been able to watch Dereon grow, and like I said before in his space when he committed to Miami, I've been training him since he was 10. So that's 7 years of development, both on and off the field and mentally as his mentor, and just as someone that he can look to talk to about anything, even life. So I just got to see this kid grow into the mature kid he is now. And, to your point, you saw him last year at Good Counsel. Well, yeah, they did have an Ole Miss commit, but Dereon is such an elite talent that whenever he's given the opportunity, trust me, you're going to feel his presence. And, I don't want to say anything bad about Trevor Jackson. He's a special talent. He's at Florida State now, but there's not too many people out in the country that can compete with Dereon on any type of level, whether that's in pads or without pads. So Dereon is the most elite arm talent I've ever trained, and I'm on record saying that on multiple platforms. I have no issue saying that. When you see this kid throw live, you'll totally understand what I'm talking about. So I'm, as a Hurricane fan, as you see the hat, I am so excited that Dereon's committed to Miami, and I just continue to see him grow over the years. And like I said, the fact that he's taking care of the ball and at a powerhouse like Jones with weapons around him, it's only going to get even better when he gets to the next level at Miami.
So let's talk about Miami. Let's do that, because obviously you're on record saying, obviously you're a huge Hurricanes fan. You were more than ecstatic that you finally got one, right? You've got a quarterback that's committed to the U, and you've plastered that thing all over social media, as you should. You guys have worked your butts off. Dereon has worked his butt off to get the amount of offers that he had. Ultimately decided the U was the right fit. So just tell us why the U was the right fit for you, and what you plan to do once you get to Miami. Obviously, we got a whole nother season to get through after this year, but why the U and why now?
I mean, just look at what Ken Ward is doing and then cut on my film. It fits me perfectly. And then the culture. If you know me, everybody will say that culture just fits me. Look at Jones' culture, then go look at Miami's. It's really the same thing. Everything's just the same. So it's not like I'm going into a whole different space after leaving high school. It's really I'm going into the same thing, and they run everything my high school runs, so I'll just be just fine.
Yeah, and with that, let's have some fun, man. I didn't put everybody on the spot last week, so I'm going to do it to you, right? You're committed to Miami. Miami's having a hell of a start to their season. They're looking real good. And multiple people has gone on Twitter and saying they'd really hate to have to recruit against Miami right now. Even if they've got kids that are committed elsewhere, Miami is a scary, scary program right now because of what they're doing, as a program. So who do you want to see, or who are you actively trying to recruit to come join you and commit to the U?
I mean, I already have been recruiting a lot of people. The first person I got to name is Vernell. I got to name my receiver Vernell, Larry, and my O lineman Xavier. Them the first people I've been getting because that's the easiest. All the others, they're already in down south. It's not hard to get them. Like Naeem Burrows, from Bulls. We got a couple. Jabari Brady. I know y'all just seen him get crystal ball. He's on the way. I already got Mally, so Mally's doing some recruiting. Then we can get Gump. It's just a lot of names I can name.
Look, and I think that list is only going to continue to grow as Miami continues to do big things. So let's close this thing out. I'm gonna hand it to Zach, see if he has any closing remarks for you or Balin, man, because I know you work your butt off. You got to try to get some rest. You are a student athlete, and you are more importantly a student before the athlete. So we want to make sure we respect your time. But Zach, what do you got for these fellas before we let them get out of here?
Yeah, this is for both of you guys. Dereon, you can start. I cover high school football nationwide. Florida, California, Texas, and Georgia are the four big states. Do you think Florida's got the best talent when it comes to producing high school football players?
I mean, everybody knows Florida has the best talent. If they don't say Florida, they'll probably say Texas. But this year, it doesn't seem like it's been Florida, so it really seems like Texas. But I'm a Florida kid, so I'm gonna go with Florida.
What you got, Balin? I know you
Yeah,
want
I
to
mean, it's
chime
no
in.
brainer. Everybody, you see the NFL draft picks, you see the guys that are making impacts at the highest level. They all come from Florida, whether they play in state schools or not. The talent comes from from Florida because of the heat, the weather. We can play football year round. Obviously, it's raining now, but I mean, granted, we're still able to play outside, whereas most people can't because of the weather, whether it's cold or just the climates. But in Florida, you can play year round, and the youth football is a pretty big deal. They've got Netflix shows on some of these programs in the South, and so you start to see this talent really blossom from a young age, and then now you add the talent with the training and the coaching in this state. Now we're taking this thing to another level. But going back to Dereon and why Miami, he does fit the culture. His work ethic fits the culture, and he's just a breadwinner. And when you look at the championship pedigree that Miami brings to the table, yeah, it might have been several years and decades, but at the same time, they still represent that U and the brand, and it's so much bigger than just that. So he fits the mold, and most people don't even know he was verbally committed to Oklahoma for a long time. So this was his decision, and he respects Coach Luttrell, and Coach Luttrell reminds him a lot of Coach Dawson, and they're all business, and that's what Dereon is. He's been that way his whole life. It's always been about business first. And so, when Dawson made the offer, it was a no-brainer. And of course, I'm pushing the envelope. I've been telling him since he was 10, I'm molding him to be the next Hurricane quarterback. And, it's just funny how it actually came to be. But he's earned everything that he's gotten. And like I said, I mean, name another 26 quarterback in the country that's top 10 in his position at number 6. Actually, number 5 now as a dual threat in the country who had 20 plus offers and split half the time last year. You're not going to name one, and it's only Dereon. So that's how elite he is. And the guy he was battling with was a 4-star kid committed to Ole Miss as Elite 11 finalist. So, I mean, the kid's unbelievable, and I'm so excited about him going to Miami. I think his time in Miami, he'll either win a Heisman or a couple national championships, if not both. But like he mentioned, Cam Ward fits his style. That's what Dawson loves about Dereon and what he brings to Miami. And in 2 years, he'll be bigger, faster, stronger, and smarter. And when you do that with his arm talent, sky's the limit for Dereon. So I'm glad that he's able to be on here to you guys get to know him a little bit more. But of course, I can go all day bragging about this kid because I actually know him from a personal standpoint because I've been with him for 7 years. So I'm excited as a Canes fan myself, and I might be a little biased, but I know what Miami's getting in a couple of years, and it's the real deal. And Dereon is at the top of the chain.
Man, I love the passion. Just you can hear it coming out of your voice. When we did the recording probably 2 months ago, when we just broke down his film, broke down his training sessions, and just you spoke on a high level about Dereon and your relationship, and then now we've got Dereon joining us, and your passion just kind of intensified, man. Like you can just kind of hear it coming out of your voice, see it coming out of your pores. The love for this young man is real, and that's I absolutely love to see that. I appreciate that. But fellas, man, it's been an absolute honor and privilege. Dereon, man, best of luck this week. The game's so big they moved it to Campers World Stadium on Saturday now, right? So for those that didn't know, it has been moved. I'm sure Dereon or Balin or somebody's going to put that out there on Twitter if it's not already. So it's a big game that just became bigger, which is really cool. But look, stay safe, man. Stay healthy. Continue to do what you do. Best of luck to you. And obviously, we're going to stay plugged and we'll run this thing back in due time. All right.
Yes, sir.
And I
I
want to
appreciate
say, going back to your comment, man, I really want to touch on that. You know why I get passionate about this kid? Because I've seen this kid literally grind from the bottom into where he's at today. And he's never begged for anything. He's never had to pay his way up in any situation or any recruiting site. He's never had to beg somebody for attention. He's never had to go to this camp or that camp just to prove himself or try to, use politics in his direction. He's always earned everything. And everybody wants to talk about measurables and stuff. So like I said, I get passionate because I know what this kid's capable of. I know what this kid's arm can do. I know what his mental can do. I know what his competitive nature can do, and it's at an elite level. And so all he does is play the game, and that's what I tell him to worry about. And he does just that, and that's why he's one of the top quarterbacks in the country, committed to Miami, and that's why he beats every odd that's out there for him. So that's why I get passionate.
Hey, look, you ain't got to mute yourself. We hear a little guy. He's passionate too. He threw up the U. He threw it up. I seen it. He loves Dereon, man. But look, fellas, again, thank you, thank you, thank you. Stay blessed. I appreciate y'all jumping on. We'll run this thing back in due time. All right.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Thank you.
Where do we want to go? Where do we want to go? Let's go to Georgia. Let's talk about Ryan Mosley, Juju, and the rest of the Trojans at Carrollton against the Red Elephants at Gainesville. Very well coached program, not necessarily in the top 25, but still a very, very notable team that's very well coached with a lot of talented young men. So where do you see this matchup going? It's gonna be a banger because I think Gainesville is gonna play very hard against Carrollton, and for me, I don't know that it's going to be a lopsided one way or another. But what do you see from your point of view?
Yeah, no, this is a great matchup. You brought up the coaching in this one. Obviously Coach Niblett with Gainesville, he did a tremendous job when he was at Hoover. And then you look at Coach King for Carrollton. This guy is one of the best coaches, not just in Georgia, but the entire country. So both teams are gonna, both these teams are gonna be ready to go. And this is it's a classic offense. Even though Carrollton has a great defense, but obviously they got a big time offense. And Gainesville's got some dudes on defense led by 2026 USC commit Xavier Griffin. So I think Gainesville has allowed 7 points or less in all 3 games this year. And you look at Carrollton, on the other hand, you look at Julian Lewis's stats this year, just insane, dude. He's thrown for over 1,000 yards. He has 18 touchdowns to 1 interception. That interception came early on against Westlake. Since then, he's thrown 18 touchdowns, and he's completing 79% of his passes. He's got a bunch of dudes to get the ball to. I'm a big Ryan Mosley guy. I think he's one of the best receivers in the country, regardless of class. Peyton Zachary has been a very explosive guy to get the ball to. They got a couple of legit running backs, good offensive line. And then you look at the secondary Carrollton has. It's D1 guys all over the board. So, yeah, this is going to be a fun matchup. We're going to find out if Gainesville is a top 25 team on Friday. Carrollton has proven to be one of the best teams in Georgia and in the entire country. Right now, they're ranked at number 9. Gainesville's in that 50 range. So a big opportunity for the Red Elephants. This is a program that nearly beat Buford in the state title game a couple years ago. And Carrollton's trying to win their first state title since 1998. And I believe this is a team that's got a very good chance to do so because it's a well-balanced team on offense and defense. But yeah, big test coming up against Gainesville. I'm looking forward to this one. I think Carrollton's going to find a way to get it done. I just have a lot of faith in Julian Lewis at quarterback.
Yeah, it's very difficult to go against the grain when you've got Juju as the quarterback. especially with the amount of talent that he's got surrounding him. The O line, they're no pushover. They got some studs on the O line. You look at the receiving core, they're solid there. The running backs look to be healthy. They're locked in. So it's going to be a lot of firepower, for the Red Elephants, but it's going to be a lot of fun to watch. I can't go against the grain. I got to go Carrollton. I think Carrollton probably by 2 scores, and 2 scores, maybe 10 points. So it's still going to be close. It's going to be a competitive match, very well coached matchup as we spoke on, but I do think Carrollton's going to take the win this week. We'll find out next week, though.
Yeah, that should be fun, man. Georgia's one of the best states, and these are two of the best teams in the Peach State. So this should be a slugfest, man. I think it's going to be kind of more on the low scoring side of things because I think both teams have very, very good defenses.
Yeah, so let's just keep it in the Peach State. Why not? Let's talk about Beaufort. Let's talk about Douglas County. Look, we got 2 teams that are, I outfitted with, I don't know the numbers. Maybe you might be a little more keen, but there is a lot of D1 dudes across both of these teams. Offense, defense, special teams. They've got dudes. What do you see here? Beaufort took a L early in the season against Milton, a very, very, very talented Milton. Douglas County, I got to watch at the Corky Kell. They did exactly what Douglas County should have done, and that was put in work, put up numbers. What do you see against this heavyweight fight in the Peach State, Beaufort, Douglas County?
Yeah, and we were just talking about Milton being, arguably right in the mix as the top team in the country, and Beaufort held their own against them. They lost 13-10. And, Dayton Raiola, the younger brother, obviously, of Dylan Raiola, who's now starring as a true freshman at Nebraska, he's getting better each week. The only thing different between him and Dylan, he's a lefty. But he's playing well, man. They put 52 on the board last week against an undefeated Roswell team. Before that, it was a close win against Benedictine, but this is a real test for both teams. Douglas County, they had a nice win last week. Langston Hughes was playing good football. They won 21-14. And for Douglas County, it's going to come down to one thing. If they can stop the run, they're going to win this game. They got guys on offense too. Obviously Aaron Gregory, a 2-way standout, having a good season on both sides of the ball. They added Devin Carter, a 5-star wide receiver in the class of 2026. They got a talented quarterback. They got a good running game, but defense is where the money's made for Douglas County. They got dudes all over the place. Jordan Carter, absolute stud, one of the best in 2026. I think Douglas County is going to win this game, and it's going to be because they're just too physical in the trenches. But we'll see. Beaufort, they learned a lot in that first game against Milton. They're looking good each week. They, last week put up 52 on the board. But I don't know, man. I just think Douglas County's got too many dudes. I think they're going to improve to 5-0.
Yeah, I can't disagree there. As much as I want to go Beaufort, incredibly coached program with a lot of talented studs, I just can't go against Douglas County. Being able to see, again, all of those guys on offense and defense and the way that they were clicking in game 1, and now they've had, 3 or 4 games to get that much better and then, that much more in sync. I think it's going to be a very, very difficult task for Beaufort. But is it impossible? No. If they stop the run, like you said, Douglas County is going to come out with the win, and I think they're going to be able to do that. I think it's going to be a pretty close game. I don't think it's going to be high scoring, but I do think Douglas County is going to come out with the win come this Friday night in beautiful Georgia.
Hey, I don't like this that we're all picking the same teams. It's probably not going to bode well for them. We both picked St. Ed's last week. We both picked DeSoto, and we saw what happened to those two teams. So we'll see, man. But yeah, I'm looking forward to these two matchups in Georgia, though. I love Georgia football. It's big boy football. It's physical. And if you're a college coach, these are 2 games they're going to be interested in because the D1 talent's all over the place.
Yeah, and with college coaches being on the sidelines now, I think there's going to be a handful of college coaches that are going to be here, putting eyes in person on this game just because of the amount of talent that's, still uncommitted. There's still a lot of uncommitted talent across the board on both teams. So, man, it's a lot of fun. I love this time of year. Games are getting big. Coaches can come out. The weather's getting a little chillier. Hopefully the rain finally holds off. Fingers crossed, and I'm not jinxing myself. But, TBD. Let's keep it moving, though.
Hold on real quick. I got to ask you before we go to the next game. How was the weather for you last week? Did the weather jinx finally get off your back, or was it
Look, I was pleasantly surprised. I had a nice, unfortunately, it was humid, but it was still a
Okay,
nice 75, 80
there you go.
degrees. And then once the
No
sun went,
lightning, no rain.
none. It was
There you go.
beautiful skies. Like, hey, and it was nice because I was live streaming, so I had all the equipment. So the weather was very friendly. Hopefully, it's friendly again on Friday because if we're going to talk about live streaming, let's talk about this big matchup in
Yep.
state Virginia. We've got Maury versus Highland Springs again. I'm going to be the exclusive live stream provider for this big old heavyweight battle. We've got the 757 against the 804. Maury, who ranks probably where are they at this point? Are they within the top 50, give or take?
They're in the 60s, I believe. What?
Okay,
Who'd they play last week? A team from Maryland. They play
they
Wise, or
did.
who'd they play?
Yep, they did play
Yeah, they
wide.
won that one. Yeah, 20-14. So more dominant win. They probably would have moved up, but they kind of stayed right where they were the week before. But yeah, another big test coming up this week. Highland Springs is always one of the top programs in the state of Virginia. It would probably bode well better for them if they were 2-0. But still, they're loaded. I love Ari Watford. This kid, he's one of the best edge rushers in high school football. I expect him to have another big season this year.
Yeah, Maury is man, they are loaded with dudes across the board. Obviously, Ari, he probably, headlines that slate of D1 talent, but they're no pushover. I mean, they got, if I'm not mistaken, they got a South Carolina commit. Um, they've got a handful of other guys that hold several other Division One offers, and then you got Highland Springs. Highland Springs coming off a very tough loss against Phoebus, which Phoebus is out of the 757. Phoebus coming on, they won the 4A state championship. They won 36 in a row, if I'm not mistaken. So there was a lot of energy coming into the game, and they did exactly what they wanted to do, and that was come in, dominate, and get the win over a powerhouse like Highland Springs. So Maury, Highland Springs, this is going to be 5A versus 6A, big time matchup. Going to be a lot of fun. So make sure you tap into Spotlight 39 for that exclusive live stream. But look, we got another game to talk about. And when we talk about it, we got a guest to bring on. You might know who he is. So without further ado, let's just go ahead and get him on. Let's bring him in. All right. So as promised, you see him on the screen, man. This young man put up video game like numbers last week. You see the logo beside him, St. John Bosco. It is a powerhouse program out of California, who is now ranked number 2 nationally, behind a very competitive rival at Modern Day. We've talked about Modern Day. We've talked about Bosco. We've had Coach Negro on the show. I got to see you in South Florida, man. So first and foremost, welcome to the show. How are you feeling, good sir?
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for having me. I'm feeling good. We just got out of practice about an hour ago, prepping for this week, playing Sarah San Mateo, just getting ready to go ball out again.
I love it. I love it, man. So let's just kick it off. Let's start, with the first couple of games this season. Like I said, I got to see you in beautiful, South Florida. I'd say sunny, but it wasn't so doggone sunny. Not this year.
Not so funny.
Last year I was down there. It was like 100 degrees. Everybody's cramping up except Bosco. Y'all had the pickle shots going. And then this year, I think y'all had the longest third quarter in high school football history. We won't talk about that again because I think, Zack just saw another penalty flag come flying. But talk to me. What's your point of view from your start of the season, man? What's working well? Maybe what's something that you want to continue to build on for the rest of the season?
I would just say our offensive schemes and just our quarterback's ability to get us the ball. I would say this year we're relying a lot on the pass this year, but we could also run the ball. But this year so far, the pass has been our strong suit, and just being able to get all of our receivers involved, including myself. We have Carson Clark, Daniel Odom, Darren Tubbs, Christian Davis. Just being able to get all of us involved, and for our quarterback, for us all to be clicking right away, is just a great start for the season.
I gotta jump in and ask you, last week's game, man. You went for 252 and 3 touchdowns against a very good Sierra Canyon team whose strength is probably the secondary. Just talk about last week's win and your performance you put on.
Yes, sir. So last week we saw they were running a lot of zone coverage, so we just found a lot of pockets and windows that we could use to exploit them. And lucky enough for me, I was on the outside where the zones were, so I was able to get most of the touch with Sean. But it could have been anybody that was able to go off that weekend. I was just glad that we were able to get the team W.
Yeah, man, big team W it was. So let's talk about this big Friday game. What's the game plan? Don't spill the beans, but what's your
Yeah.
mindset going into the game? What are you looking forward to? In ultimately, how do you see this playing out? Does Bosco come out on top and stay at number two, or are we going to be surprised? You talk to me.
I think that this week is going to be Bosco against Bosco, really. It's going to be us making sure that we don't make mistakes. This could be a trap game for us, making sure that we don't take them lightly because of who they are and make sure we play them like how we would play modern day. And it's really just, as I said, us against us. Last week we had 3 turnovers. I had 1 turnover myself with a fumble. So I got to be able to do better on that part. So this week we're just going to try to be cleaner, have less penalties, and be better as an offense altogether.
I gotta say this too for any Bosco fans watching the game Saturday afternoon up here in NorCal. So don't get confused on Friday. But I gotta ask you, Madden. Modern Day is number one. You guys are number two. What's that rivalry like? I know you've played in it. Just how different is it playing against Modern Day compared to playing against some other teams?
It's definitely different because we're game planning for them all year. We've been game planning for them since January. So for other teams, usually we take a week to game plan. Modern Day, we take full 9 months to game plan. We'll start implementing stuff in January for them. So just that one game, that rivalry that's been now for like almost 25 years, just going back and forth, always either us on top or them on top. This year is definitely it's going to be a show.
I gotta ask you too. Last week, Fuiava had to come out of the game, and then obviously you got a freshman quarterback coming in, Koa. How impressed were you guys seeing a freshman come in a tight game, a one-score game, and how impressed were you with the way he played?
Cole is built for those moments. We've been working with him since the summer, and we've seen the type of talent that he has, and we know that he'd be ready when his time came. And for him to be able to shine in that moment, it was big for us. And I knew that he was going to be able to shine, and I knew he was going to be able to seize the moment.
Yeah, in Shine he did, man. Putting on a show within the fourth quarter, a little bit of the third. A lot of fun to watch. You guys are young, man. Y'all are very young. Y'all got a lot of talent in that 26, 27, and even 28 class, which is scary for anybody that's going to face St. John Bosco in the very near future. But with that, St. John Bosco, obviously I've built a great relationship with Coach Negro, over the course of the last, probably 4 years now at this point. You guys do a ton of travel, man. You guys aren't afraid to play anybody, anywhere, at any time. How is that as a student athlete? Because you guys travel and play in games that are, almost college like, and atmospheres and environments. Traveling from Cali to South Florida, traveling to Texas, a couple of years ago to play Allen. I'm not sure if you were in that game, but you know, at at what point, do you say, man, like this is crazy. This is high school. How is it being a student athlete at a school like St. John Bosco, traveling and playing such high level talent, most every week. And then you get to the Trinity League, which is no pushover. And then it's that much more talent. So just what's your experience at Boston?
I think even last year, our schedule in our non-league games, we played all teams from out of state. Even if we went there or they came here, there was no teams from Cali that we played last year in non-league. This year, we're playing Sierra Canyon and San Mateo and Pittsburgh in our non-league. But even two of those teams are from NorCal, and then Sierra Canyon is the only team down here willing to play us. But being a student athlete, it takes a lot, missing some bit of school, so you have to talk with your teachers usually beforehand, make sure you get all your schoolwork done. Coach Negro will strive on us that while we're out there to not just have it being a vacation, making sure that we're doing our schoolwork, staying up on drinking our hydration. That's probably the main reason why we did good in Florida because we were staying
Look,
hydrated the whole time we
room
were out
temperature
there.
water, no Gatorade, and pickle shots.
Yes, sir.
That's the recipe.
And so, yeah, definitely just he stays on top of us. He loves us like a father, and he makes sure that it's a business trip whenever we go out there.
I got to
Yeah,
ask you too, man, just about, you're talking about Jason Negro, who's arguably the best coach in high school football. What's he mean to you and what's he mean to the Bosco program?
What he means to me, he's a very influential man for me. Ever since I had my shadow day at Bosco my eighth grade year, I was like, this is the man that I want to play for. He's just a coach that he loves his kids. He's going to help them get to the next level. He's going to show you tough love. He's going to get on you sometimes, but he's also going to be the first one to praise you. So that's just the man that I wanted to play for. And what he means to Bosco as a community, I think I speak for everybody when we say we all look up to him. We look at the example that he sets and the standard that he has for this program. We all just try to live by the same model that he has and try to fulfill that standard.
Yeah, shout out to Coach Negro. Shout out to his entire coaching staff. I mean, we learned that the better part of y'all's coaching staff has been with Coach Negro for 15, 20 years or better, with the exception of just a couple. So, you guys have a strong foundation. And then you're obviously supported by Miss Jessie. We can't get out of here without, shouting out Miss Jessie.
Gotta give Miss Jessie some love.
Well,
She's,
I love
she's,
Jessie.
she's the person in the background that nobody really gives credit to.
She's the best, man. She's the best, dude. Especially when it comes to us in the media. She takes care of everybody, man. She's awesome. She is an awesome person.
No, most definitely.
Miss Jessie's the best.
Yeah, shout out Miss Jessie and Coach Negro and the whole St. John Bosco family. Fingers crossed. I'm coming out to Cali next year. I'm making that happen. It's been 2 seasons since I got out there, so Modern Day is coming back to you guys stadium. So hopefully I'll get out there for that one in October next year. But before we let you get out of here, right? Let's just talk about the recruiting, right? Obviously you're uncommitted, so we're not going to get into the meat and potatoes. I'm just curious if there's any program or programs that are kind of standing out right now, whether it's based on what they're doing currently. Obviously we got Miami showing out right now. But is there a program or a couple of programs that maybe, are, looking really good to you based on what they're doing right now?
Yeah, I would say a couple of programs are definitely standing themselves out more than others and just trying to show that extra effort right now. And I would say those programs are Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan, Oregon, Texas, Arizona State, and Washington and UCLA.
Not a bad,
Florida State.
And Florida State. I was gonna say not a bad slate, right? So a lot of handful
Yes,
of programs. That's awesome to hear, man. Zach, did you have anything for Madden before we let him get out of here? My end. I'm getting late, but this young man, he's just getting out of practice. He's ready to grab some dinner, do some homework, get ready, do some film study, take a nap, get up and rinse and repeat and do it all again tomorrow. But what do you got for him before we let him get out of here?
I got one last one because I don't know if the rest of the country knows about the Trinity League, but just tell everybody how tough it is to play every week once you get into the league play. I mean, so far this year, the Trinity League is 16-1, and the only loss came against Mission Viejo. But just tell the people around the country why the Trinity League is number one in the entire country.
I'll just say the Trinity League is number one in the entire country because we have the best talent in SoCal, and they just all go to different schools. So each school gets loaded up with some new players. So I would say definitely if any team in the Trinity went to play somebody else, they'd probably go in because it's the best league in the country. So just being able to play up against that is only going to make yourself better and prepare you for college.
Iron Sharpens Iron, Trinity League, the best in the nation. You heard it from my guy, Zach. Madden co-sign, man. So, look, we appreciate you jumping on. Look, go be a student, then the athlete. Stay safe, stay healthy. Best of luck this week and the rest of the season. And obviously, we're going to run this thing back in the near future as we continue to stay plugged in, man. But best of luck, all right?
Yes, sir. Thank you, guys.
Yes, sir. Appreciate you. All right, so we just had Madden, and we got his perspective on this big game. But I want to talk to my guy, Zach, man. I want to hear your take on St. John Bosco's big matchup this Friday. Talk to me. Well, Saturday.
Yeah.
Saturday. I stand corrected.
Yeah.
Don't watch it on Friday because it won't be on. Saturday. It's a Saturday game, which is kind of rarity for Bosco. But it's Saturday in Northern California. So talk to me.
You get a Saturday afternoon game, too, a 1:30 kickoff. So, yeah, I would be shocked if this game was competitive. You saw last week De La Salle put it to Sarah. They won 39-10. I would expect Bosco to do the same. We just talked to Madden, and he was talking about how it's important. This is a trap game, not to overlook Sarah. So I don't think they're going to be overlooking the Padres. But I will say this, Sarah's always a well-coached team, so we'll see how it plays out. But Sarah hasn't fared well against SoCal teams as of late, especially St. John Bosco or Modern Day. Yeah, I expect a big day for the Braves. I think Madden's going to eat. I think Carson Clark's going to eat. I think Daniel Odo. I think everybody on the team's going to eat. Bosco's got guys on defense too. This is just a tough. It's going to be a tough Saturday afternoon for Sarah, I believe.
Yeah, look, as much as I want to disagree because we've been agreeing all night, I've won against St. John Bosco, one too many times already this season, and I stood
Yeah.
corrected. So I can't go against
I'll say this
coach,
though. I'll
bro.
say this though. A shout out to Sarah for scheduling this game. A lot of teams are scared to play games like this, but at the end of the day, these are the games where you learn the most about your team. You find out what your flaws are and what you need to get better at. So I expect games like this for Sarah to have a big time impact when we get towards the end of the season. I'll say this too. Sarah beat Folsom. I don't think a lot of people had that on their bingo card. So we'll see. But yeah, I got Bosco by about 4 tutties.
4. So you're
Yeah.
going real big.
I'm going real big, man. I think Bosco's gonna this game probably be over by halftime.
Fair enough. So we may see the freshman come back in, and get some
Yeah.
play time should Fuyava, come out the game.
Yeah, he looked good last week, man. For a freshman to come into it was 24-21. It was a 3-point game. And he was like, all right, let's have some fun. And they balled, man.
Look, it's gonna be good to watch. 1:30 kickoff Pacific time, right? That's all the way out in Cali. So for me, that's a mid-afternoon game. Should I
There you go.
should I be able to tune in? I think I'm gonna be on the sideline about that time, but I'll check out the highlights afterwards. Big matchup, Northern California on a Saturday afternoon, St. John Bosco. But let's just keep it moving, man. Let's see. Let's go to Texas. Let's talk Texas football because Texas is just now really starting to get kicked in on their season. I think they played probably 1, maybe 2 games max. So talk to me about this big time matchup. You got Westlake. I can't pronounce the other school. I'm gonna let you do that. Talk to me.
Give it a shot. Give it a shot.
Nope. I'm gonna listen to you and then I'm gonna try it.
Atascocita. They got dudes, man.
No. No chance. That's all you.
You would have got that, bro. I mean, obviously they got studs, but Carde Mack, quarterback, he's elusive, dual threat guy. He's been having a great start to his season this year, one of the top 2026 guys in the state of Texas. And Austin Westlake, I mean, a stat for these guys, they've lost 3 games since 2019. And those 3 losses, 2 have come against North Shore, and the other was Denton Geyer, I believe. So they have played outstanding football. They've been one of the top programs in the state of Texas. It's going to be a big game. And, Westlake's one of the first 5-6 teams out of the top 25. Atascocita's moving their way up. So the winner of this game, especially if they win impressively, is going to have a good chance to be one of the new teams to jump in the Max Preps top 25. Because as we've seen, as the early part of the season's gone, there's been a lot of upsets. So there's been room for new teams to jump in pretty much every week. So the winner of this game, especially if it's a dominant, impressive win, they're going to have a chance to jump in the top 25. Atascocita last week beat, always a well-coached Katy team 41-24. And Westlake started the season off with a very impressive win against Prosper, and then an easy win last week. So yeah, this should be fun, man. I'm leaning. I don't know. I keep going back and forth, but I think Carde Mack's going to be the difference maker. I think Atascocita is going to pull off the upset here.
So
if it is even upset, so we'll see. But finally,
disagree. Let's go. I'm going to take Westlake.
And the only reason you're taking Westlake is because you can't say Atascocita. So
Atascocita. So should Atascocita pull the upset and knock off Westlake, I'm going to have Atascocita on the show, and then we're going to dig deeper into the toolbox, and we're going to see if we can't bring a young man from Atascocita on the show and talk about it. Should they knock off Westlake?
It very well might be Carde Mack, man. He's a baller on both, quarterback, running the thing. They also got Torrey Blaylock too, Oklahoma committed running back. So it'll probably be one of those 2 guys. So they're going to try to run the ball. They're going to try to run the ball for sure against Westlake, but Westlake's always a well-coached team, so they're going to have a good game plan on Friday.
I love it. So let's just keep it in Texas to round out this week's big-time matchups, and we're going to do it with St. Francis Academy coming off of a very close game out in Cali. I mean, these guys, we talk about Bosco, they'll play anybody, anywhere, anytime. You can say the same about St. Francis because they will literally play anybody, anywhere, anytime. They will play in a public park in the city of Baltimore. They will go out west and play Modern Day and follow it up and fly, to play Bishop Gorman. And then they say, I don't care. We do it again next week and we'll go to Duncanville. Like, they just don't care. So this week, they're going to Texas. Everything's bigger than Texas. They got Duncanville. Duncanville's, man, that's a powerhouse. They got some dudes, and they got some dudes that are clicking on all cylinders right now. What do you see in this St. Francis DMV versus Texas matchup?
Yeah, this should be a fun matchup. Obviously St. Francis lost last week, but 15-13, a very competitive game. Made the road trip out to Southern California, played a very good Orange Lutheran team. But now they face an even tougher team, and they got to travel again out to Texas. But you can make a case. Keelan Russell, DeCorian Moore, best quarterback, wide receiver combination. I think if you asked most people, that's the one they would go with. And last week, Keelan threw for like 350 and 5 touchdowns. DeCorian had over 100 yards receiving, 9 receptions, had a touchdown. They got a Zack Turner, too, a standout playmaker. Yeah, Duncanville's loaded. The big question for me, though, with Duncanville this year, and last week they didn't run the ball that well. They didn't need to. They won easily against South Oak Cliff, but Caden Durham was a stud. He was a big-time playmaker for Duncanville during his high school career while he was playing for the Panthers. So they're going to have to establish a running game against St. Francis because St. Francis has enough guys on defense. You got to do both things well to beat these guys. And St. Francis Academy, we were talking about Zion Ely earlier. He's one of the top prospects in the class of 2026. I think 24/7 Sports has him number 2 overall. They got an outstanding secondary. Blake Woodby, absolute stud. They got a bunch of other guys too. So this is going to be a fun matchup to watch and see how they go up against DeCorian Moore, because to me, DeCorian Moore is right up in the discussion for being the top player in high school football, regardless of position. He's a 10 out of 10 on the sauce meter, man. You get this dude the ball, he's going to score touchdowns. And their only loss last year came against DeSoto, and that was a game DeCorian Moore had to sit out the first half. So that might have been a different game if DeCorian Moore plays all 4 quarters. This is a big game for the state of Texas. They want to show we can win these big out-of-state matchups. Texas hasn't fared well in these out-of-state games recently. So this is a chance for Texas to say, hey, we're playing a big-time program like St. Francis Academy, and if they can get this win, that's going to be big, not just for Duncanville, but also the state of Texas.
Yeah, and this is, for St. Francis going into Texas, after, very competitive, close loss, in Cali, it is a big deal, right? And you say, Texas needs to show that they're capable of getting these big wins against these big out-of-state competitors, even though, they make those competitors come to them. We'll talk about that on another day. At some point, Texas programs will leave Texas and go see what it's like elsewhere. But while we have it, St. Francis isn't afraid. They're going to Duncanville. And then, after this game, St. Francis, their slate doesn't get any easier. It just continues to grow, right?
Then they play number 1 Modern Day next, the week after. So, yeah, that's why I've always respect what Coach Masai's doing with St. Francis. He ain't playing when he says we want all the smoke. A lot of guys say that and they don't really want it, but he'll literally schedule. If they had 10 games, they would schedule all the top 10 teams for sure.
Yeah, they will schedule whoever says yes. It doesn't matter where they want to play. They will fly to Hawaii. I think the only place they haven't gone at this point is Alaska, and maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they have, but I missed it. But they will go anywhere, anytime. So you can't not respect that, and these guys are hungry, man. They want to continue to grow and get better. And how do you do that? You go play the best of the best. And they said, all right, well, Duncanville, supposedly you're the best in Texas. We want to see what you got. So then you flip the script, and then you got Duncanville, right? So we just had DeSoto, upset alert, right? They got knocked off last week, which was a surprise to many. They've got Duncanville coming up, next month. So things could be different when we have that conversation, pending this outcome and going forward. But, man, we've had a slate. We've had some special guests.
Who you taking?
Oh, man, you made me do that.
Yeah, I didn't get my pick yet. I'll get mine after you.
All right, well, I'm going to go with the home team, and I say home team just because I'm in the DMV. I got to go St. Francis Academy. I do think it's going to be a good game, and I think it's going to be competitive. But I got St. Francis Academy by a score.
All right, we'll go. We'll change it up then. I'll take the actual home team in the game while you're rocking with your home team from the DMV. I'm gonna take Duncanville here. I think this is a big moment for the state of Texas to show out. Big opportunity facing one of the best out of state teams. St. Francis has been a marquee program here over the last 3-4 years. So this is a show me test for Duncanville. I think they're gonna pass with flying colors. I think DeCorian Moore and Keelan Russell are gonna be too much to handle.
Either or.
And I'll tell you,
fun.
KJ Ford, a name to watch for Duncanville, edge rusher from class of 2026. I think he's going to make some key plays on defense too for the Panthers.
All right, and we didn't throw Tristan out there. We can't not talk about the young quarterback, St. Francis Academy. I mean, look, he's putting in work. He's a 2027, and he's going to play some of the best talent across the country. And I mean, he's got to continue to do it for the next several weeks because they don't have a home game for until November, I think.
They play IMG.
Yeah. So, and that's the one game I'll be at for St. Francis this year. Because I can't foot the bill to travel and go see wherever they play because they play all across the damn country. But I will be there for the IMG game.
Hey, Tristan saw too. Like this is great for him too. To he was playing as a freshman too. Spelling Michael Van Buren last year. So imagine how good he's going to be by the time his junior and senior year get here too.
It's going to be a lot of fun to watch. Very special young man with a special talent. Shout out to St. Francis. Shout out to Duncanville. Look, shout out to everybody that supports the brand, man. Spotlight 39, we do this thing each and every week. That's my guy, Zack. We done recapped all the big matchups from last week. We done set the stage for all the big games coming up this week. We done had some special guests. We done talked to Dereon Coleman, Miami commit. We had his trainer, Balin, on here, the quarterback guru, training kids from across the country out of Central Florida. And then we had Madden Williams putting up video game numbers last week, talking about, what it's like to play for Bosco and Coach Negro. We shouted out Miss Jessie. What did I miss?
You pretty much got it, man. It's going to be another fun week. I feel like there's been upsets every single week. I don't think a lot of people had, Chaminade Madonna, an 0-2 team coming off a 35-34 loss against Blanche Ely to go out and beat a very good American Heritage team. I don't think many people had Boyle County going into Ohio beating St. Ed's. And I know most people didn't have North Crowley beating DeSoto. So
hell no, I don't think anybody had Crowley. Yeah. Unless you were unless you're a parent at North Crowley, you didn't have them over DeSoto. Let's be honest.
Even a couple of those parents probably had DeSoto,
Yeah, you're right. If there was a money line and you could legally bet on DraftKings, they might have put their money on DeSoto. For me, I like the underdogs when I'm betting. I'd have put all my money on North Crowley, and I would have won big because they got the upset. But look, lots of fun this week. We're going to have even more fun next week. If you have a special guest that you want to see on the show, shoot us a message, man. We love to have anybody and everybody that's relevant to the space. So let us know. Support the channel. Subscribe to the channel. Appreciate I Empowered Energy. Appreciate the Great White Premium Apparel. Shout out to Max Preps. Shout out to Zack. Man, I'm tired. Till next week, man. I appreciate y'all. 9/11, never forget.